Okay. Good afternoon. Greetings from the Institute of Global Professional IGP Bangladesh. Greetings from the Institute of Global Professional IGP Bangladesh. Thank you all for joining us and staying with us till the end. Honorable Knowledge Seeker, today I am your host for the afternoon. My name is Bathum Dash. I am from Bangladesh. Dear Knowledge Seeker, I am proud to be associated with IGP as a global member. IGP is a social and ISO certified international training institute. In 3 years, we already serve 3 million plus knowledge seekers from 100 plus countries. IGP is internationally recognized and globally accredited. We are connected to more than 250 plus professions and 4,500 plus organizations. Institute of Global Professional (IGP) is a training facility for skill development which was founded in 2020 and is generating competent candidates to meet demand in the global labor market by providing professional qualification. The Institute of Global Professional is an educational institute that provides social work, globally recognized and reportable. We serve students and community resource providing holistic social work and education. We believe that it's not effective to increase one skill just by acquiring formal education. So we provide effective training and consultation to generate proficient generation all over the world. We distribute our services locally, nationally, and internationally to student job seeker, job holder, and also for learners through respective campus location and distance learning platforms. We are an occupational and dependable institute. IGP is one of the famous online institutes from all over the world. Our vision is education is not a business product, it's a part of our human right. Based on our vision, we are trying to reach all corners of the world for free webinars, seminars, courses, awards, quiz competition, mentoring, and consulting, etc. On the other side, we are also trying to serve more than 100 premium services for free like create own portfolio website, resume builder, cover letter, motivation letter, and world knowledge platform for gathering general knowledge which can upgrade all day. Kids learning games, website, free courses, conversations, and many more. We help to empower youth to learn to meet their expectation and dream and become highly skilled people. We implement several trainings, program webinars, and offline online courses for support and learned by professional trainers, speakers, and coaches. Our sessions are conducted by globally renowned professionals to develop all kinds of youth and to promote the education of their abilities and personalities. To ensure excellent and indeed instruction, we arrange with qualified trainers, speakers, and instructors. We extended free services to more than 3 million knowledge seekers in the last 3 years. We are appreciated with universities and organizations in 70 different countries. Virtual co-signing with many colleges and organizations have been accomplished. We are working to create a legendary generation of future scholars and citizens who will be accountable. We are constantly prepared to assist all knowledge seekers with valuable services. Spreading knowledge is crucial for Institute of Global Professionals. We believe that knowledge is life and vision. So we try to understand the needs to today's generation and will serve them the good research and practice method. We must have a genuine concern for the learners we represent. More diversity, growth, and innovation are required to lead a session with professionalism, passion, and integrity. IGP members are committed to offering effective best quality service and continuous improvement so that individuals who seek information can provide their skill levels and value. Before we move to the next, let me remind don't forget to tag, share, and mention your friend in the comment box. Your support is very valuable for us. Thank you. Moving. Before we move to the next, let me remind don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friend in the comment box. Your support is very valuable for us. Thank you. Moving to the next, with your continuous support, we already completed 1,147 webinars successfully. Wow. Moving to the next, with your continuous support, we already completed 1,147 webinars successfully. Wow. At present, we are going to start our 1,148 program name, assessment for class case, assessment for case and project language classroom. And today our speaker is Dr. Ahmed Heki Sujia Moho, MPD. Before I hand over the stage to sir, want to share a little bit about our speaker. He is assistant professor, Universities Negeri, Malaki. Now, very important moment for me to invite our speaker to IGP with dear participant. Due to some technical issue, our speaker can't join with us right now. Please wait some moment. He will join us within few minutes. Thank you.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so
Hello, sir.
yeah, okay. Can you hear me, ma'am? Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello, ma'am. Hello? 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 Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Can you
Hello,
hear
sir.
me?
Can you? Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, I'm ready for presenting.
Sir, please upload the file.
Okay, okay, wait. This is in the process because I've just restarted my laptop. Wait a minute. Oh my God.
Sir, please present your presentation.
Okay, wait. This is in the process, okay? I'm opening my PPT. It's working. Okay, this one. Okay, I've done it. Okay. Well,
Sir,
ma'am, can you hear me now?
yes, sir. I can hear and I can see your presentation and also you.
Okay. Okay.
Sir, on behalf of IGP Knowledge Seeker, want to hear from you about you, sir.
Pardon me? On behalf of IGP, what is the matter? Can I do the presentation now?
Yes, sir. You carry on.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I will start. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. How are you today? I hope you are fine now. Well, first of all, I would like to express my gratitude. I thank you so much for the chance and opportunity given to me for doing the presentation here. As you know that this is my second time for doing presentation at IGP, and I feel very happy that I can do it again now. At this moment, I will still talk about the assessment because that is my expertise. So that's why the topic of my presentation today is about the assessment for problem and project-based language classrooms. So referring to this this topic, at least there are three things that I want to share. I want to discuss here. The first is about problem-based learning activities, and the second is about the project-based learning activities, and the last one is about the assessment. Okay. You know that when talking about the problem and project-based learning activities, so they are supposed to be the methods that become the trend today, because we can find that many lecturers and many teachers like to implement those two methods. And it is assumed that the teachers have the missions when implementing these two methods because they expect that the students want to have a good capacity for preparing themselves in facing the problems and finding the solutions and also being creative and productive in this life. Because you know that what happens in the current situation, there are so many problems that can be faced by the students. So that's why the students have to be ready for facing the problems and then finding the solutions and being creative and productive. Okay, to short at the time, I would like to start my presentation from the first slide here. Okay, now in this slide, you can see about the learning phenomena. So this is something that you often see considering about the way how the teachers try to conduct the teaching activities. Actually, there are two directions when the teacher tries to teach the students in the class. So the teacher tries to promote about the passive learning activities, and the other one is about promoting the active learning activities. One thing that we have to consider is about doing the passive learning activities and active learning activities. There will be some instructions that can be given by the teachers for the students. In this case, for example, when the teacher tries to promote about conducting the passive learning activities, so in this case, the teacher may give instructions for the students to learn something by reading, hearing, seeing, or even the combination between watching and listening. And then, but if the teacher wants to promote about conducting the active learning activities, so at least the instructions that can be given by the teachers for the students that is about the instructions for making the students learn something through saying or writing or even doing something or having the performances. The most important thing is that concerning about the passive learning activities and the active learning activities that can be conducted by the teachers when teaching the students, we can see the results of the students' understanding level. Now you can see this one, for example, what happens in the passive learning activities. When the students try to learn something by reading, so the students just have the potential for understanding about the materials for 10%. But this, we can see this one, for example, in the language learning. So this is like what happens in the reading class. So we often get the information or the situation where the teachers try to give the instruction for the students to read the text and then or to learn something from the text before learning. So that's why the students try to read something before they learn something. But unfortunately, what happens to the students concerning about their understanding here, so there are only 10% they can get about the materials. So the students can understand about the materials only 10% by reading. This can be something different from what happens when the teachers tell the students to do something through hearing or listening. So this can happen when in the listening class, for example. So we often find that the teachers of the lectures give something like the audio. The instruction is to make the students listen to the cassette before learning. So that's why when the students do something like that, so there exists the potential for the students to understand about the materials only 20%. This is higher than what happens in the reading. But this is also something different from what happens when the teachers try to give the instructions by seeing. So there is the potential for the students to understand about the materials only 30%. For example, we can find the teachers like when he or she likes to give the simulation. So there exist instructions for the students to observe about the simulation given or done by the teachers. So that's why when this happens, so the teachers, the students just have the potential for understanding about the learning materials only 30%. And there is also the combination between watching and listening that can be given by the teachers as the instructions for the students. In this case, when the teacher gives the instructions about the one, so the students just have the potential for learning and understanding about the materials only 50%. Okay, looking at this, because the percentage is 50% and under, so that's why it is supposed to be passive learning activities. Because what can be done by the students is only accepting the information from reading, listening, or even watching, or even the combination between watching and listening. But this is something different from what happens when the teacher likes to conduct the active learning activities by doing, for example, like by saying or writing. So the students have a potential for learning and understanding about the material 70%. And that exists the highest point in this case when the teachers give the instructions for the students to do something when learning. So there is the potential for the students to understand about the materials 90%. Well, referring to this percentage, the result of the understanding that the students may have by learning something, whether this is passive or active learning. So of course, the best solution goes to the active learning activities. So that's why many teachers today like to implement the active learning activities. And then talking about the active learning activities, so actually it was promoted by Bonwell in 1995. And now you can see this one, there are some characteristics that we can find for implementing the active learning activities. The first is emphasizing the learning process, not information delivery or explanation. As we know that what happens in the teaching activities conducted by the teachers traditionally, we can find that when the teachers like to do the explanation, likes to give the explanation to the students. Explanation is something important because what happens to the students, sometimes we can find that the students need to be given the information about what is being learned. But something that we have to understand in this case is about the duration or even the division. So we cannot give the explanation all the time from the beginning to the end of the class, because we can find also here when explaining something, the students sometimes do not pay attention to the explanation given by the teachers. So we can find that the students like to talk to the friends or maybe like to chat by using the cell phone. So they do not pay attention to the explanation. So that's why when the teachers like to give the explanation to the students, they have to pay attention to what happens with the students actually. it is something important to be noticed. So that's why in the active learning activities, it is assumed that giving the explanation is not supposed to be the priority that can be given to the students, but the teachers must be creative for finding out or providing many kinds of activities for supporting the learning achievement better for the students. And then the second characteristic for implementing the active learning activities, that is supposed to be developing high order thinking levels. So, learning cannot be separated from thinking process, but we have to understand concerning about the way how to make the student think or use their brain and mind for thinking, because there is something like the levels of thinking that we have to pay attention. And this is for active learning activities. It can promote the students to make and build and develop high order thinking levels. And concerning about what is meant by high order thinking levels, I would like to explain later in the next slide. And then the third characteristic for implementing the learning activities, it promotes conducting learning by doing formats. As I have said to you in the previous slide concerning about the result of the learning activities conducted by the teachers when implementing the active learning activities. So we can find that the students have good potential for understanding about the learning materials for 90% if they do something. So in this case, when doing or implementing the active learning activities, the teachers can make the students do something. Learning can be fed by the students if they feel that they are doing something. They do some activities, for example. So that's why here the students will be very happy, will have good motivation for learning because they are doing something. And by doing something, there will be many kinds of experiences that can be gained by the students. And then the next characteristic for implementing the active learning activities, this promotes building effective aspects. What are supposed to be the effective aspects? They are like motivation, confidence, self-efficacy, and so on. Now, we can imagine as the teachers, when you see that the students don't have a good motivation for learning, so they will be lazy, they will not do anything in the class, and there will be many instructions given by the teachers that will be lost because the students lack of motivations. So that's why here in the active learning activities, there is good potential for the students to control about the students' affective aspects, especially like motivation. So in this case, the students will have good motivation when doing something in the learning activities which are supposed to be active here. And the last characteristic is about giving fast learning feedbacks. As you know that what happens in the learning process or activities, we can find that the students do the mistakes of make the errors. And I think it's normal to happen. We don't have to be angry when we find the students to make the mistakes, for example, because that is supposed to be one of the process, a part of the process of the learning activities conducted by the teachers. But concerning about the mistakes done by the students, I think the teachers should realize there exists, the contribution for the teachers for giving the feedbacks, because we know that we cannot let the students make the mistakes for several times. So that's why there should be the feedbacks given by the teachers. And by giving the feedbacks, the students may also realize that there is something wrong to be done. And of course, there will be the correction that can be done by the students themselves. So these are supposed to be the 5 characteristics for implementing the active learning activities. And then the next slide, I would like to talk about this one because in the previous slide, I have discussed high order thinking level. So what is meant by high order thinking level? In this case, this is concerned with the learning taxonomy proposed by Bloom here. As you know that there are 6 levels for understanding about the way how the students think or use their brain for thinking. So the first is knowledge. So this is the way how the teachers try to make the students learn something by remembering. And then the second, this is comprehension. So this is the way how the teachers to make the students learn by understanding something. And then after that, there exists the application. So it means that the teacher's efforts for making the students learn something through applying about the concept or the theories that are being learned. So knowledge, comprehension, and application are supposed to be the lower order thinking, because there is nothing that can be done by the students, referring to for showing about the performances. There is nothing to be performed by the students. So that's why the students just only accept about the information and apply something. So it's supposed to be, or it is categorized into the lower order thinking levels. And then what happens in the next analysis? So in this case, the teacher starts to make the student something, analyzing something, and then or creating. So this to create something when learning, and also evaluation. So these three categories are supposed to be high order thinking levels. So that's why if the teachers, or maybe we tell our students, we give the instructions to the students, leading the students to analyze, to evaluate, to synthesize, to create. So actually we are trying to make and build the students' high level thinking or high order thinking levels. And what happens in the active learning activities? There are some activities that must be done by the teachers in which it can lead the students to analyze, to synthesize, to create, and to evaluate something. So that's why active learning activities has the contribution for making and building the students' high order thinking level. Now, when talking about the active learning activities, so there are two things, or there are two methods that can be done by the teachers. The first is by using problem-based learning activities. And the second is by using project-based learning activities. So for the first time here, I would like to explain about problem-based learning activities. What is the definition of problem-based learning activities? You can see this one here. That is supposed to be an educational approach whereby the problems are the starting point of the learning process conducted. In other words, the problem serves as the basis for learning process because this determines the direction of the learning process. So referring to this definition, there is only one point, one key point that can be understood by the teachers when they want to try about what is that problem-based learning activities. In this case, the problem is supposed to be the keyword for implementing the problem-based learning activities. In other words, the teachers are expected to provide various kinds of cases or problems that can be discussed together for the students. So that's why here we have to understand about the condition of the students when giving the problems, because the problems can be the key. So that's why we have to make sure that the students are familiar with the problems. So that's why here, when talking about the problems, there exists what is supposed to be the types of the problems in implementing the PBL, problem-based learning activities. You can see this one here. The type of the problem is dependent on the specific organization and based on the real life or hypothetical problems which have been selected and edited to meet education objectives and criteria. It means that when we try to make, to give the problems or the cases for the students to be discussed together later, we have to make sure that the problems must be connected with the topics that are being discussed. So, for example, you want to teach about what? So you have to make sure that the problems are related with the topics that are being discussed by the students now. What they are learning must be related with the problems. And then the problem is also open-ended or ill-structured problems, which mean that there is no right or wrong answer to these problems, but there are reasonable solutions based on the application of learners' knowledge and information. In this case, this is something additional. You can think about the type of the problem that we can give to our students. In this case, we can choose the problems in which what is supposed to be open-ended and ill-structured. In this case, there's nothing to be right and there's nothing to be wrong. But we have to make sure that the students will be responsible for the answers that they can give to us. So that's why here it must be something like logical. So that's why the students must be responsible, must have the responsibility for the answers. Even though considering about the right or wrong things, it can be something different. It means that one answer that can be given by the student, it can be wrong for another student, and vice versa. So that's why here, this is not about something right or wrong, but the most important thing is about the reasonable additions, reasonable solutions that can be given by the students here. It can be something logical. And then this is, there are some characteristics when implementing about the problem-based learning activities. The first is it promotes student-centered learning format. You know that what happens in the problem-based learning activities, because the teachers give the problems to be discussed. So the discussion occurs between the students or among the students. So when this happens, of course, the learning center goes to the students. So that's why what happens in the problem-based learning activities, it can promote student-centered learning format. And then the next characteristic, it can make or promote cooperative and collaborative learning activities within small groups. What happens in the with the problems given by the teachers, it is possible that the students cannot answer the questions individually. So that's why in this case, the teachers give the instruction for forming the group, the students. So that's why there will be like a discussion. in the discussion, of course, there'll be something like cooperative and collaborative learning activities done by them. So that's why here, what happens in the problem-based learning activities, it can promote cooperative and collaborative learning activities within small groups. And then the next characteristic is about utilizing students to do the research and investigation through the problems. You know, what happens with the problem sometimes, it cannot be solved directly. You know, problems are not similar to what happens in the like assignment. When you give the assignment, for example, it is possible that the students can finish or accomplish the assignments in a very short time. And there's nothing to be like the way of investigating or the acts of investigating or conducting the research concerning about finding out the solution or solving the problems. But when we give the problems, of course, it cannot be solved in a very short time, and it's not something easy. So that's why there is the potential for the students to do the research or investigation as the way for providing the evidences concerning about the answers or the solutions that they have. And then the next characteristic is about the integrating theory and practice and applying knowledge and skill. So what happens with the problem, it is possible that the students, when trying to give the answers or getting the solutions, they have to combine between the theory and practice. So it's not only about the theories, but there will be the skill that they have to understand, that they have to master in this case, when proving about the answers, about the solutions that they have. And then the next characteristic, teachers act as a facilitator in the learning activities. As I told you that what happens with the teachers just give or provide the cases or the problems for being discussed by the students. So that's why here the teacher just acts as the facilitator to facilitate about the activities and to facilitate with the provision of the problems or cases have. And then the last characteristic of implementing problem-based learning activities, this is concerned with directing the students to have independent learning and self-assessing activities. Now you can see what happens when in the discussion happening. So the students are free to get the references for getting the answers or getting the opinions. So that's why they are supposed to be independent for getting the opinions, for sharing ideas here. And then it is possible also that the students try to make the corrections concerning about the mistakes done by other students. So in this case, when this happens, the students are actually try to do what is supposed to be self-assessing activities. So those are supposed to be the characteristics of implementing the problem-based learning activities. And then now we go to problem-based learning activities components. There are 4 components here that we have to meet for the teachers who want to conduct the PBL. So the first is about the content knowledge. So this is concerned with the topic or with the theory or the concept that are being learned or being taught by the teachers. In this case, the students have to master about the topics, because what happens to the problems? The problem must be answered referring to the concepts learned. And then when trying to solve the problems, there is the potential for the students to use the cognitive aspects, the thinking process. So that's why here it is possible that the students build their cognitive skills, because they can think for finding out the solutions, for being creative or productive in producing something like the ideas, for example. And then the next component is concerned with the affective aspects, as I have told you. This is concerned with the motivation and attitude. So we have to make sure that the students will have good motivation for doing the activities for learning. And what happens with the learning activities by using problem-based, because the students may also think that the problems need to be solved, because this is something important to solve the problems or to find the solutions. So that's why we can see that exists the increase or the improvements of the motivation that the students have. And then the last component, it can be something like a general thinking. When those 3 components are combined together, so actually we can find the results. The students may have a good competence in understanding something, and they can also build what is supposed to be like self-regulation skills, metacognitive skills. For example, concerning about the mistakes, for the first time, the teacher may give the feedbacks to the students. But after being given the feedbacks, the students can realize, can be aware of the mistake that they have done. Realizing the mistakes, so this is supposed to be one of the characteristics or one of the factors for building up the metacognitive skills or aspects. So those are supposed to be the PBL components that we have to meet, we have to pay attention and consider when implementing the problem-based learning activities. Now we go to PBL learning steps. There are some steps that we have to follow when implementing the problem-based learning activities. The first is introducing learners to the problem. So the teachers not only give the problem, but we have to make sure that the students understand or recognize about the problem itself. So this is something important because we have to avoid misunderstanding concerning about the problem. So we have to make sure that the students understand about the problem by introducing the problem to them. And then exploring what the learners do and do not know about the problem. So this is like the limitation concerning about the type of the problem that we can give to our students. We have to make sure that the students are familiar with the problems and the students have the capacity for getting the answer. But when the problems are very difficult to be found out the solution, so I think it's not a good problem to be given to the students. We have to change. Yeah. And then the next step is about generating possible solutions. Of course, the goal for problem-based learning activities is to make the students have good capacity for finding other solutions. But considering the consequences of each solution and selecting the most valuable solution, so we can say that in the discussion, for example, it is possible that each student has their own ideas as the solutions to be given or to be shared. But not all the solutions given by the students are supposed to be right. So that's why it is possible for some students to make the corrections and then select about the best solution that can be used, that can be gained in accordance with the problems faced by the students. So those are supposed to be the PBL learning steps that we have to meet when implementing the problem-based learning activities. Now we go to the benefits of PBL learning activities. So actually there are many benefits that can be taken by from doing PBL learning activities, but I just want to show you 5 here. So the first is enhancing communication skill and oral performances. You know what happens in the discussion when the students are given the problems and then they have to discuss the problems to find out the solution. So it is possible that the students have have many ideas to be shared. Okay, when they try to share about the information, so they actually speak up. So that's why here it has the potential for the students to enhance their communication skill and other performances to the discussion when trying to find the solution for the problems faced. And then the second benefit that can be taken by doing the PBL here, it can promote the way or the acts of developing individuals' application of their knowledge in various problem situations. You know that it is possible that one concept or one theory that the students have understood can be used for finding out the solution for solving many kinds of problems within different situations or various kinds of situations. And this is something good because what happens with the problems, it is expected that the students can find the solution, very kinds of the solutions, and they have to be ready for facing very kinds of the problems. So that's why one of the benefits for implementing PBL here, there is the potential for the students to develop their potential in finding other solutions in facing various kinds of problems with different situations. And then the next contribution or benefit that can be taken by doing PBL here, it can promote the facilitating the social construction. Yes, of course. So what happens in the discussion done by the students, it is possible that the students build the interaction among of them. Okay, when the interaction can be built, of course, social construction between or among the students can be built. And then the next contribution that can be taken here is building intrinsic motivation behind the success of getting the solutions. You know, when the students are given the problem, it is possible that the students feel very happy because they have good motivation. They think that the problems need to be solved. So that's why when they try to get the solutions, so they actually have good motivation for doing that. So that's why here, what happens in the PBL, when this is implemented by the teachers, it is possible that the teachers try to build the intrinsic motivation for learning for the students. And the last benefit that can be taken from doing this PBL, that is supposed to be encouraging students to develop critical thinking for their success in learning. Yeah. Once again, what happens in the discussion done by the students when trying to find a solution for the problem faced, it is possible that one student criticizes other students' information or opinions, because it can be something like the errors or the mistakes done by the students. So that's why there should be the way how to make the students be critical for criticizing other opinions concerning about the problems faced to get a good or the best solution. So those are supposed to be the benefits of PBL learning activities. Now we go to the second method that can be done or conducted by the teachers when implementing active learning activities. And that is supposed to be project-based learning activities. Now we go to the definition for the first time here. So what is the definition of project-based learning activities? You can see here, that is supposed to be a learning model which gives students a chance to learn by doing a project. So referring to this definition, there is only keyword. So this is not what happens in the problem-based. So the problem is supposed to be the keyword for implementing the problem-based learning activities. But what happens in the project-based learning activities, so of course, the project is supposed to be the keyword here. In this case, what can be done by the teachers is to provide the project. But once again, the project is not something similar to what happens in the assignment, especially when we talk about the time. When doing or accomplishing the assignment, it is possible that the students can do that, can finish the assignment in a very short time. Okay, for example, this can be seen what happens in reading. So you can read, you can give the students like the text, yeah. You can tell the students to do about the text, and then you can give the assignment for the students for answering the questions provided. And then the students can be easily done, and the students can be easily do about finding out about the answers to the questions given here. So that is supposed to be the assignment. But what happens in the project usually takes a long time. It can be 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, or even 1 semester. So it is possible that for the teachers to give the project which lasts 1 semester. So there's only one project that must be done by the student. So that's why when implementing the project-based learning activities, the teacher must think about the project. What project can be given to the students? And then there are also some learning activities or characteristics that can be done or followed by the teachers when implementing project-based. Number one, it requires students to plan, implement, and evaluate the projects. So these are the activities that can be done by the students concerning about the project given by the teachers. They can plan, they can implement, or evaluate what happens to the project. And then this method is learner-centered in that students pose one question or more and work under the teacher's guidance. So this can happen when the teachers try to give the project, and the project unfortunately cannot be understood by the students in detail or very well. So that's why, to avoid getting misunderstanding, so that's why the students tend to ask the questions. So they want to ask the questions concerning about the projects given by the teachers to avoid misunderstanding. And the teachers, of course, need to answer the questions, need to give the information in detail so that misunderstanding concerning about doing the project can be avoided. And then this is by PBL learning features. I think this is almost the same with what happens in the problem-based learning activities. Yeah, a drafting question, and then opportunities for the students to make active investigations, and then collaboration, and the use of cognitive. Yeah, so I think it's quite the same to what happens with the PBL. Okay, and then this is the steps that can be followed by the teachers when implementing the the PBL, in this case, project-based learning activities. First, the learners and teacher make an agreement and a decision about the theme or topic of the project and the method of solving the problem. So this is something important to be noticed by the teachers when giving the project to the students. So the projects are not supposed to be something free in this case, but there exists the procedures that must be followed by the students and the teachers. So that's why the project has to be made sure that it can be done very well. It can be successfully gained. So that's why the teachers and the learners are supposed to make the agreement together and the decision concerning about the project that can be done by the students. And then students also design the project by inquiring information related to the project and the plan and the objective of the project. In this case, after the project is given by the teachers, the students can prepare themselves and can have the strategies. And one of the strategies for the first time, it can be done by designing the project. And when designing the project, of course, the students need to get many references, many information, for example, concerning about the theories and the concept that can be used for accomplishing the project later. And then the third, the students collect, analyze, and organize data to answer the problems or the projects. Yeah. So after designing, of course, something that is supposed to be important to be done is about analyzing or collecting the information and analyzing the information. So it can be like the data, because the project is like the problems that must be solved or must be found out the solution here. So that's why it must, the students must gain the data for supporting about the answers, for supporting about the solutions that can be taken at the end. And then the students define the essential point and design the presentation. So of course, after the project can be accomplished by the students have responsibility for presenting, for telling about other people, concerning about the solutions, concerning about the projects that have been done by them. So that's why it is quite necessary for them to do the presentation, concerning about the implementation and the success of the project that have been done. And then the last one, the students may evaluate when there is something wrong with the projects. So of course, when the result has something wrong to be seen, so that's why it is possible that the students try to evaluate. So they have to evaluate for getting the better one. So those are the steps for conducting the PGBL, project-based learning activities. And then now we go to the benefits of PGBL, project-based learning activities. Number one, this promotes supporting the development of students' academic achievement and positive attitude levels. Yes, of course, when we talk about the problem, we talk about the project, sometimes what is supposed to be the academic achievement, and the students have good capacity for producing something. So the project can be something like, at the end of the project can be something like the products. Yeah? So when the students are successful in producing any products, of course, it can support the academic achievement that is supposed to be better. And then it can also develop their 21st century skills, in which two of them are students' oral and written skills. So what happens in the 21st century skills, it is expected that the students are creative and productive. Yeah. So that's why here, when the students try to do the projects, and the end of the project must be something like the product that can be produced by the students. So of course, the students actually try to build 21st century skills. And then enhancing the communication skills, yes, of course, when trying to finish the project. So there will be something like the communication between the members or between the groups. So that's why it can enhance the communication skills. Okay, so those are the benefits that can be promoted when implementing the project-based activities by the teachers. Now, as we have to know that teaching cannot be separated from assessing, because assessing is something important. Assessing has the goal for getting the information about the students' progress and development. So teaching without assessing can be something useless, because we cannot make sure whether the students can understand about the materials that we are teaching or not. So that's why we have to assess. Even though when we do the explanation, for example, so behind or during the explanation that we can give to our students, we also try to assess. There will be some questions that we can ask to the students concerning about the theories or the concept that we are explaining. So that's why we have to make sure whether the explanation that we give to them is something useful for the students, because the students can understand our explanation very well. So that's why here assessing is something important. And also concerning about the phenomenon happening when talking about the assessing activities, our teachers spend a considerable portion of their working lives assessing for the students. And then teachers spend as much as 20 to 30% for doing the assessing activities. So this is the fact. Even though we teach our students, for example, by giving the explanation, by giving the assignment, so actually there will be the assessing activities that we have. And we can insert the assessing activities behind the teaching activities that we have, okay? So that's why we can avoid doing or giving the assessment or doing the assessing activities for the students, because this is something important. And because we know that the importance of assessing, so we have to know what we can do with the assessment. Because it is possible that we can find the problems concerning about the assessment that are commonly done, are commonly used by the teachers. Many teachers tend to use non-performance assessment or tags to assess the students. So this is like what happens when the teachers when giving like a multiple choice test or paper tests. I do not say that paper test is bad. For example, like TOEFL. So TOEFL is good, okay? But we have to remember when talking about the assessments or the assessing activities is like giving the activities to the students through some instructions. So we have to make sure that the students can do something when they are being assessed. So that's why here we have to make sure that when assessing the students, there will be something like the performances that can be done by the students, that can be performed by the students here. Because we are supposed to be the language teachers, and we have to know what is supposed to be the goal of learning language. Learning English is not only a matter of understanding or knowing what the English is in terms of the structure, but also of understanding how language can be used as a means of communication or interaction. So how can you make sure that the English language is supposed to be a means of communication and interaction? Because what happens with the students when they are learning something, when they are learning English, we have to make sure that English can be a means of communication and interaction. So that's why there is nothing that we can do except we give the instructions for the students to perform what they are learning. when they are performing something, for example, like by speaking or by writing. So that's why they are supposed to be the acts of building the communication and the interaction in the life by using English, what they have understood and mastered here. Now, let's talk about the definition of the assessment. It's quite necessary for us to know what is supposed to be the assessment. What is the assessment like? So this is from Brown in 2004. Yeah, the definition is given by Brown here. We can say that assessment includes all both incidental and intended activities done by the teachers to get information about the students' learning progress or development through having some performances in using the language. So referring to this definition, there is something that there are some things that we have to consider when we try to assess our students. It can be incidental or intended. But what is meant by being incidental? It doesn't mean that we don't have an initiation for assessing the students. No, we must have the initiation for assessing our students. But what is meant by being incidental? Because this is concerned with the assessment, with the type of the assessment. For example, when we do the explanation, we also give the questions, okay? But we have the initiation for questioning our students, concerning about measuring whether the students understand about the explanation or not. That's why we have the initiation for questioning, for assessing the students. But talking about what questions can we give to our students, it can be something incidental. It depends on the student's problem or the student's condition there. And it can be something like, what is that? The performances. Yeah. So this is something important. When we try to give the assessment, we have to make sure that the assessment leads the student to perform something, not just like what happens in the multiple choice test or paper-based test when the students just write down something. Yeah, it doesn't mean that writing is not performance. Yes, writing can be said to be performance, but it depends on what can be written down by the students. When the students just writing down concerning about choosing the options given by giving the tick, for example, in the list. So that's not supposed to be writing. But when we tell the students to write essay, so it can be something like performances. So this is the definition of the assessment that can be understood by us now. And then now the nature of assessments. When we talk about the assessments, we have to realize about the assessment condition. So there are three natures of the assessment that can be understood here. Assessment can be assessment of learning. So when we want to give the assessment of learning, so we can see this one now, the acts of assessing or assessment given by the teachers after the teaching and learning activities are over. So in this case, we want to know the end of the journey of our teaching activities or our program. So this one we have to know about the students' progress, the students' understanding. So when this happens at the end of the program or at the end of the teaching activities, so the assessment is supposed to be the assessment of learning. But it must be something different from assessment for learning. That is supposed to be, that is the aim or the goal for improving the learning activities, the learning process. For example, as a teacher, you find that the students have the problems concerning about their understanding. For example, where the students don't understand anything about the material, so that's why we have to find the solutions. We have to know what happens with the students, so that's why we can give assessment for learning. And after giving the assessment for learning, we will know what happens with the students and we can improve the learning activities or process that we have. So it's about the strategies that we can change later. And the last one is about the assessment as learning. So this can be something like the way how the students can understand about their own mistakes, their own errors. So that's why the students need to be given some assessment in which it is possible for them to know and to realize about what they have done actually. So that's why this is supposed to be like a self or peer assessment, yeah? Assessment as learning. And then the next one is about the kinds of assessments that can be used for conducting the problem-based learning activities and project-based learning activities. The first is performance assessments. For example, like we can tell the student to perform something, for example, by doing the presentation. So what happens in the problem-based learning activities? After being given the problems and the students try to find the solutions, so they have to be able to present about the solutions. When doing the presentation, so this is like the performances that the students may have, okay? So that's why when the instruction is concerning making the students perform something, so the assessment that can be used by the teachers is supposed to be like performance assessments. And then portfolio. Portfolio can be used for conducting the project-based learning activities because it takes a long time. It cannot be finished in a very short time. And that will be the steps or the procedures that must be followed by the students. For example, it happens in the writing. When we tell the students to complete the writing, for example, essay, for example, so that will be the process. For example, like they have to finish the first paragraph, introduction, and then the content of the body of the paragraph, and then the conclusion. So it cannot be done in a very short time and directly. That will be the process. That will be the procedures they have to follow. So this why portfolio can be used as the assessment for conducting the project-based learning activities. And then peer self-assessment. This can be done for both problem and project-based activities, considering about the students' condition themselves. So we have to know what happens with the condition when doing the problems, when doing finding the solutions and getting the accomplishment for the project done. So we have to know, considering about their motivation, for example, the confidence, the difficulties, and so on. So we have to give the peer and self-assessment here. Now, assessment, where what we give to our students cannot be separated from the task. Or we can say that the assessment is not the task. That is supposed to be the activities or the tasks that we can give to our students, and the students must accomplish. So that's why we have to know what the task is about. The task is an activity that involves individuals in using the language for the purpose of achieving a particular goal or outcome in a particular situation. So that's why when we talk about the task, when we talk about the assessment, it cannot be separated from the task. So when we assess the students, actually we give the task, we instruct, we give the instructions, and the instructions can be in the form of the tasks that can be done by the students to be completed. So that's why here the task and assessment are quite a similar thing to be discussed here. Now, there exists a relationship between the assessment and the task. This is the last slide that I can give you. Now we can see some procedures here, some information. Assessments cannot be made or given without having the task. Yes, of course. So what is meant by giving the assessment is actually giving the task, and the task can be completed or done by the students. And then the goal of the target of assessing activities done by the teachers may depend on the kind of the task proposed. Yes. For example, in writing, when you give the instruction to the students for completing about making the essay, so of course the task is about the essay. It cannot be something different. And then the task of learning activities conducted by the teachers will be useless without being followed the intention to assess the students. Yes, one of the main goal of giving the task to our students is to assess them. Yeah, so this will be something like the trouble if the teachers just give the task, but the teacher never gives the grades. The teacher never assess. Never have the intention for getting the information about the students' progress. So they just give the task or the assignment. And I think this is not a good teacher. And then the task of learning activities may affect or entail the students' motivation. Yes, of course. So that's why this is something that we have to pay attention, considering about the task. The task or the assessment are not supposed to be something too difficult, which cannot be done by the students. But we have to know the condition of the students and the capacity of theirs, because the task must be able to be completed by the students successfully. And the last one, both assessment and task proposed need to consider the teaching strategies. Yes, so every teaching activities that conducted by the teachers need a strategy. And considering what the strategy used by the teachers, we can also think about the assessment given to them. But the most important thing is that the assessment and the task given by the students must be in relation with the strategy of teaching used by the teachers. Well, I think that's all what I can present to you. Maybe you have any questions to be asked, and I'll be ready for answering the question of yours. Now I would like to send back to the moderator. Thank you. Hello, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir, for your rich content presentation, which can impact our knowledge seeker surely. After your presentation, I hope our knowledge seeker can learn something new, which was our only intention. Learn and grow together, IGP knowledge seeker. Once again, thank you so much, dear sir, for your presentation. Now, sir, it's time for our question answer session, which is the one more valuable part of our regular webinar. Honorable sir, please
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you very clearly. Would you like to repeat again about what you said?
stay with us.
Yes,
Dear
ma'am.
IGP Knowledge Seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from
Okay,
our
comment
speaker.
box.
Thank you. After question answer, we have webinar certification and online quiz competition. Dear IGP
Okay,
Knowledge Seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from your speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have webinar certification and online quiz competition. Welcome back. Welcome back, participants. So our first question is from Ishaya. Sir,
okay.
Dr. Ahmed Haki, who gives
Yeah,
assign the peer self-assessment, is it the students themselves or the teacher?
okay. I will answer the questions. Thank you very much for Isaiah for the questions given to me. Yeah, you know what happens in the self or peer assessment, even though the student themselves try to feel about the assessment, try to answer the questions in the assessment part, the teacher has the job for providing the questions, for providing about the statements in the peer or self-assessment. So it must be done by the teachers who give the assessment, the peer or self-assessment. But the answers, of course, it can be done by the students, or the students themselves try to give the information about themselves. So that is the answer. Yeah, that is.
Thank you, sir, for your answer. Sir, our next question is from Flami. Good day, Dr. Haki. What advantage does passive learning have over active learner?
Yeah, when talking about the passive learning activities, I can say that it can be minimum benefits or advantages that can be taken. Because what happens in the passive learning activities, all the students are supposed to be passive. There's nothing that the students can do here. The students are not active. The students don't perform anything. So it can be something passive. But when we talk about, for example, like the concentration, so it depends on the teaching activities that we have. For example, in the listening, there's nothing we can do in the listening. We just need to tell the students to listen to the cassette, and then we give the questions. So it's appropriate with the learning strategy or learning condition. But considering about the advantages, I mean, considering about the student performances or the students' competence improvement, I think it's quite minimal. So that's why it is better for us as the teachers to implement the active learning activities.
Thank you, sir, for your answer. Sir, our next question is from Digisus. Sir, good day. What should be the basis for assessment of learning?
Okay, so the basis of doing or giving the assessment of learning, we have to make sure about the topics or the materials, the end of the topics or the materials that we are giving, we are teaching to them. Because what happens in the assessment of learning, that is the way how the teachers to get information about the end of the journey for the teaching activities that has been conducted by them. Whether this is concerned with the students' understanding about the materials that has been explained by them or has been taught by the teachers. So that's why if you want to give the assessment of learning, so we have to make sure about the end of the topics or the materials that we can teach to the students. After we can guarantee that the materials, the learning materials are over, so we can give the assessment of learning. But if the materials are not finished yet, so that's why it is not assessment of learning, but it can be assessment for learning, because that is the way how to get information about the student's condition, and the teachers may have any efforts for improving about the learning activities conducted. That is the answer for Jesus.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be waiting for more questions if it is possible.
No, sir, there is no more question.
Okay.
Once again, thank you so much, Honorable Sir, for your time in IGP. We have learned a lot from you with new topics. It will add some value to our day-to-day activity along with our academic and professional growth. Honorable Sir, hope to see you again with a new topic and a new day. Thank you, sir. Take care.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, thank you, the moderator, for giving me the chance for doing the presenter and speaker here for doing my presentation. Hopefully that I can do this again later. Thank you so much for IGP for the chance given to me.
Thank you so much, sir. Honorable sir, before we move to the next webinar verification process, if you want to leave this studio, you can, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
IGP Knowledge Seeker, it's time for the webinar certification process, the most attractive and powerful part of our regular webinar. After a short video, we will start our webinar certification. After webinar certification, we have an online quiz competition and quiz certification. IGP Knowledge Seeker, it's time for the webinar certification process, the most attractive and powerful part of our regular webinar. After a short video, we will start our webinar certification. After webinar certification, we have an online quiz competition and quiz certification. Dear participants, today our webinar topic is Assessment for Case and Project Language Classrooms, and the code is IGP 2023. And the code is IGP 2023. Without code, no one is eligible for certificate. With code, you can claim your certificate anytime. How to claim an e-certificate. Go to www.eduigp.com, click sign in, log in if you already have an account, or create a new account if you are new. Once log in, click free webinar, select the webinar title and click continue course. Get enroll if you haven't enrolled yet. Type the code in your certificate code box, click get your certificate. It is auto downloaded in PDF file already. Just take it in your file manager or download folder. Don't forget to leave a review in our FB page, website, and in Google. Dear IGP Knowledge Seeker, it's time for the most engaging part of our webinar, which is an online quiz competition, which is our regular webinar activities. Now, time for the online quiz competition. To join online quiz competition properly, please follow my instruction carefully. Now, time for the online quiz competition. To join online quiz competition properly, please follow my instruction carefully. Go to www.slido.com and find today's quiz or scan this QR code for direct joining. Quiz code is afternoon. After a short video, we will start our quiz session. So please don't forget to mention your friend to join our quiz session. Please join in Slido with code and code is afternoon. Please join in Slido with code. The code is afternoon. Please join in Slido with the code and the code is afternoon. Already 33 people joined with us. Please join with Slido with code and the code is afternoon. Please join in Slido with the code and the code is afternoon. Already 35 people joined with us, so let's start our quiz session. What is the trigger for the project? Option 1, project mandate. Option 2, project brief. Our first question is, what is the trigger for the project? Option 1, project mandate. Option 2, project brief. Option 1, project mandate is the right answer and 76% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Princess Angelica is holding the first position after complete our first question. Our second question is, who is responsible for the project's business case? Option 1, project manager. Option 2, project executive. Who is responsible for the project's business case? Option 1, project manager. Option 2, project executive. Option 2, project executive is the right answer and 28% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Jordan is holding the first position. Our third question is, which statement is true for the project stakeholders? Option 1, some have decision-making authority on project environment. Option 2, all are external to the corporate organization. Option 1, some have decision-making authority on project environment is the right answer and 68% people are right here. In the leaderboard, drama is holding the first position after completing our third question. Our fourth question is, what is the trigger for the starting up a project process? Option 1, project mandate. Option 2, outline business case. Option 1, project mandate. Option 2, outline business case. Option 1, project mandate is the right answer and 46% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Christiana is holding the first position after completing our fourth question. Our fifth question is, a structure is unknown for which type of development project? Option 1, traditional system development. Option 2, purchased contracted software. Option 2, purchased contracted software is the right answer and 45% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Hannah is holding the first position after completing our fifth question. Our sixth question is, personality assessment that hope clients will project concern into visual stimulants are option 1, behavior assessment. Option 2, thematic appreciation test. Option 2, thematic appreciation test is the right answer and 24% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Christiana is holding the first position after completing our sixth question. Our seventh question is, who should be responsible for coordinating the test press strategy with the project manager and others? Option 1, test leader. Option 2, tester. Option 1, test leader is the right answer and 81% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Christiana is holding the first position after completing our seventh question. Our eighth number question is, what is not a good reason for the project manager to appoint team manager? Option 1, too busy to manage the project without help. Option 2, particular specialist skills of knowledge required. Option 1, too busy to manage the project without help is the right answer and 81% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Christiana is holding the first position after completing our eighth question. Our ninth question is, in which process are checks made for changes to the project manager team? Option 1, starting up a project. Option 2, Managing stage boundaries. Option 2, managing stage boundaries, the right answer, and 59% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Hannah is holding the first position after completing our 9th question, our 10th and final question of this session. Why is it important for language learner to have levels on common classroom items? Option 1, levels assist ELLS in learning. Decoding strategies. Option 2, level assist ELLS with text meaning association. Option 2, level assist ELLS with text meaning association is the right answer, and 30% people are right. Congratulations to our webinar online quiz competition winner top 10. Congratulations again. Slido will take a few minutes for finalizing the result, and after that we will issue our online quiz competition certificate to our official Facebook page and group, Institute of Global Professionals. Congratulations to our webinar online quiz competition winner top 10. Congratulations again. Slido will take a few minutes for finalizing the result, and after that we will issue our online quiz competition certificate on our official Facebook page and group, Institute of Global Professionals. Congratulations again to our quiz competition winner top 10. Congratulations. Slido will take a few minutes for finalizing the result, and after that we will issue our online quiz competition certificate on our official Facebook page and group, Institute of Global Professionals. At the end of our session, we can say properly treat your skill, never stop learning because life never stop teaching us. Be happy and stay safe. See you again and again. We want your participation in every program. If you don't, if you want to live a happy life, tie it to a goal, not to people or things. Albert Einstein. Before I say or hit the end like button, again want to thanks to all IGP knowledge seeker for your active participation as well. See you in the next session. Thank you.